I had only come home early from the salon, thinking I'd surprise my husband. I had groceries in hand, plans for a quiet dinner, maybe a glass of wine, and, if he wasn't exhausted, something more intimate. But as I stepped into the house, I was met with silence. Not peaceful silence, an eerie kind. The kind that feels too still. I placed the grocery bags on the kitchen counter and called out, "David!" No reply. I assumed he was still stuck at work. But then I heard it. A soft, rhythmic sound drifting from upstairs. Faint, unmistakable. First I was puzzled, then slightly embarrassed. But curiosity nudged me forward. I climbed the stairs slowly, each step weighted with unease. Something about it felt wrong. And when I reached the top, I noticed Jake's bedroom door was ajar. Jake, David's son from his first marriage, just turned 20. Through the small opening I saw him. He was on the bed, completely absorbed in what he was doing. His back arched gently, lips parted, eyes shut in a trance. And in that stolen moment, something stirred inside me, an emotion I hadn't anticipated. Pull. Something dark, quiet, and shamefully magnetic. But I didn't linger. I turned away quickly, my breath shallow, heart racing. I hadn't meant to see it, but I had. And I couldn't unsee it. The image clung to me all day. Jake had been living with us for 6 months while attending the local community college. He kept to himself mostly, respectful, quiet, and careful not to intrude. I had always viewed him as just a boy. My husband's son. But something had shifted recently. His voice had deepened. He carried himself with a quiet assurance. He was no longer the awkward teenager I'd first met. For the next several days, I did my best to avoid being alone with him. It wasn't hard. David was home most evenings. Still, something in the air had changed. One evening, Jake caught me watching him while he was rinsing dishes. Eyes met. And instead of looking away like usual, he held my gaze for just a beat too long. My stomach fluttered. Then came Saturday. David left town for a business trip. Just 2 nights. First, I didn't think much of it. But that evening, Jake and I found ourselves alone at the dinner table. I made something easy, garlic shrimp with pasta. He helped set the table, and our hands brushed too many times to be accidental. We laughed more than usual. Everything felt light, harmless, until it didn't. After dinner, I poured myself a glass of wine and settled on the couch. Jake followed with his drink, just soda, and sat across from me. The TV was on, but neither of us was watching. We were talking about his classes, his friends, how strange it felt to be back living in his father's home. Then he asked, "Are you and my dad happy?" He wasn't looking at the screen. He was watching me. I blinked, caught off guard. "Why would you ask that?" He gave a small shrug. "I don't know. You just seem lonely." That word, lonely, cut deeper than I expected. 'Cause I was lonely. David had grown distant. Always tired. Always busy. These days, his affections went only as far as pouring himself a neat scotch and muttering about the news. The touch had disappeared. So had the tenderness. I glanced at Jake. And for the first time I really saw him. He had broad shoulders now. A stronger jawline. And those eyes, hazel and sharp, looked at me like he already knew what I was thinking. I told myself to get up, leave the room, lock the bedroom door. But instead I said something I never should have. "You shouldn't say things like that." "Why not?" he asked, leaning in. "Because I'm married to your father." "I know," he said softly, then added, "but that doesn't mean I don't see you. The way you bite your lip when you're nervous. How you never finish your wine. How beautiful you are when you think no one's watching." I looked down at the trembling glass in my hand. "Jake, this is complicated." He rose slowly and walked toward me. My heartbeat thundered in my chest. He didn't reach out yet. He just stood there, waiting. "I would never hurt you," he said gently. "I just want you to feel noticed." That word, noticed, was almost my undoing. Maybe it was the wine. Or the months of silence in my marriage. Or maybe I just couldn't bear to feel invisible anymore. But I didn't stop him when he finally touched me. And I didn't stop myself either. That night unraveled everything I thought I knew. The next morning I woke before him. I stood at the window in my robe, watching sunlight stretch over the backyard. Guilt hung there, sure. But beneath it, a flicker of something else. Something I hadn't felt in years, aliveness. For once I felt like myself again. Woman. Desired. Chosen. Jake came up behind me and slipped his arms around my waist. His chin resting gently on my shoulder. Neither of us spoke. There was no need. We both knew this wasn't forever. It couldn't be. But for those brief stolen hours we were something different. Two people drawn together by the cracks in their lives. When David returned, I kissed him like nothing had changed. But inside I knew everything had. Jake and I never mentioned it again. Not aloud. But now and then I catch him watching me. That same look in his eyes. And I wonder if he remembers. Maybe it was wrong. Maybe it was selfish. But in a world of routines and restraint, we reached for something raw, something real. And I can't say I regret it. Not even a little.